Hello everyone, again, a retelling and again, an anime called The Wizard of the Ice Blade Rules the World. It all started with a flashback of the hero about how his loved one died after a certain amount of time. Our main character, Ray White, went to join the Magic Academy and a girl named Wanda crashed into him. He apologized to her, calling her Milady, and why she was embarrassed. She said that it was just not worth stopping in the middle of the road. Ray changed again, and he said that he was just a beginner. And then the other girls remembered that all the newcomers arrived yesterday, which means Ray is the same commoner who should have been accepted into the academy yesterday. Wanda fell in convulsions from the realization that she was touched by a commoner, and then some gang got to Ray, whose leader said that there was only an aristocrat or a native of a family of wizards in the school. The heroine Amelia Rose, who is in one of the three main families, stopped the altercation and met our hero, telling him, if anything, to turn to her for his help. The ceremony came, and the director began to make her speech about the fact that only recognized magicians get into the academy, but do not get conceited because all the difficulties are still ahead, and you need to work tirelessly. At the end of the speech, she introduced herself and called her name Abby Garnett. Then Amelia was given the floor, and she said about the same thing as the principal. The school day began, and Ray introduced himself to the class, saying that despite his origin, he was going to work hard. Heroes met with instructor Helena Gride, and after exchanging a few words with America, surprised and enraged the class who did not understand why she was talking to him at all. Ray began to remember something from the past, but he was brought back into the system and said that the lesson was not over. Yet the instructor told Amelie to tell about the ranks of wizards. She told that the Society of Magicians established 5. The ranks are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and sacred, otherwise called supreme. Helena said that for all time, there were only wizards of the highest rank, and all the wizards of the world are striving for them. Their lives are shrouded in mystery. But some of them are known to be the director of the academy. Abby Garnett, the flame sorceress, the second Carol Caroline. No. As researchers of magical arts, and the one from whom they were nicknamed the war hero in the Far East, the Wizard of the Ice Blade. The class started practicing, where the instructor told everything about the essence of magic. Magic is the creation of matter from nothing with the help of, and there are 4 types of matter in total, solid, liquid, gaseous, and plasma. All the others are considered a phenomenon. One of the students shyly asked if the instructor had used antimatter, and Helena replied that there were no wizards in the world capable of such a thing. Amelia turned out to have a beautiful rose, but the hero's attempts really infuriated everyone. In the library, Ray met the same quiet Griffith. They chatted together about their common idol, the famous scientist of magic. Griffith took off her hood and wanted to put it back on, but Ray realized that she was a half-elf and said that she did not need to hide her ears because they were cute, and said that she did not need to hide her ears because they were cute, and she was a beauty in general. She was very pleased with his words. Eliza said that he was behaving quite like an adult and remembering a friend. He replied that heroes often say that about him. Went to his room, and Evie Armstrong met him there. He said that he didn't care that the heroes were a commoner after shaking hands. They took off their clothes and appreciated each other's complexity. In the morning, Ray went out for a run and met another girl, Rebecca Bradley, who also belongs to one of the main families. Later, a new friend explained to him that the Rhode, Bradley, and Algren families are as influential as the royal one, so they can manage the economy, politics, and the whole country in general. After being separated from Evie, Ray went to the instructor, but he was bumped into again this time. It was Clarice Cleveland. The hero again apologized and appreciated her appearance, for which he received the right to call her Clarice. Ray finally arrived at the director, calling her Colonel. She told him to call her just Abby, the behavior of the hero. She led them memories of the past. Ray finally arrived at the fencing lesson, where it turned out his new nickname was a bastard, and that he had to fight with the aristocrat Albert, whom he easily beat. Then the director Abby was glad that the Wizard of the Ice Blade was enjoying his school life. In his room, Ray and Evie were rocking, and then they started talking about the fact that the hero wants to join 2 clubs at once, and it will be easy for him to do it because of an unknown and surprised Evie thing. So Ray came to the Hunters Club and showed his muscles, and that very thing turned out to be a gold rank hunter license joined the club. Then the hero went to the Gardeners Club and said that he admired the fact that a flower could be found even on the battlefield. Everyone except the head thought that the hero had other intentions for entering the club. And then Rebecca said, doubtful to check Ray herself and express her verdict about his work. He was instructed to prepare the ground for planting plants in a week. On the first day, he stripped off all the grass. On the second, he plowed the ground. In the third, he made beds. And Rebecca came up to him after treating him to lunch. She also told about the upcoming Knights of Wizards tournament and asked if the hero planned to sign up for it. He did not answer, after which the child touched his muscles on the fourth day. The hero had already finished work, so he was still accepted, and the girls started planting flowers. Walking down the alley, the hero remembered how Abby had given him the task of finding spies of the Empire who might have gotten to the academy. Going further, he noticed Clarice, who told about her strange love for bugs, and he said how proud she was to be friends with her. She was glad to her first friend. He said that he liked to communicate with her. She was very embarrassed and said goodbye with a hero. At the lesson, Ray was asked about the types of magic, and he replied that there are 4: low, medium, high, and holy. But there is also a fast remote chain delay with a change of state extended and chain extended, and there are only 7 types at the end of the lesson. Everyone was warned about a practical lesson in the forest and told to divide into groups of 4 people. Evie immediately joined the hero, also persuaded Elijah to step in, and Amelia joined them herself before the start of the practice. Helena told about the purpose of the lesson. You need to reach the center of the forest and meet its inhabitants to mark as many special points as possible in 24 hours. Our team made up their formation on the advice of Ray, and he again excused himself that he had learned everything in the forests of his village practice beginning. Ray's team dealt with a huge wasp and found 1 point Albert's team got lost, in my opinion, and Clarissa enjoyed the big bugs. After making a halt, Amelia began to guess that the story about learning everything that the hero knows in the forest is a lie. Ray also began to remember the battlefield and thought about whether he deserved or just rest with everyone in this forest, and thought about the words of an unknown person who said that he was not obliged to reveal his identity forever if he met someone he could trust. Her sentence ended there. In the morning, the team went on and heard someone shout at him. Ray immediately ran and saved Albert and his team from the monster. Amelia asked if he killed him himself and asked who he was in general. Someone in a red hoodie was watching all this and somehow launching the deceived monster. Revived him and made him stronger, but the command they were able to cope with the monster with their work, and the hero's current group reminded him of his former squad. The power of Ray was watched by both aristocrats and Clarissa, with an unknown in the end. The heroes collected all the points and came to the exam completion ceremony, where they announced that Ray and the others had received the highest score. Ray went to the same woman from Lydia's memories in their conversation. It turned out that it was she who gave the hero the title of the Wizard of the Ice Blade, and that so far, the hero cannot use something that in an extreme situation will have to use. Also, Lydia said that she was studying a brain. Department storing information called an engram, and that a group killing people for research, calling themselves eugenics naturally. Lydia refused to invite her to join the organization and told the hero that promotion in magic can only be achieved by humane method. After the conversation, they went for a walk in the woods, and Ray told her about his friends and about Elijah, who was a fan of her books. After his good words about her friends, Lily wanted to meet them personally. At the end, they discussed the tournament of swordsman wizards, and Rees said that he had not fully recovered yet, so he did not want to risk Lydia gave the hero an unknown book. The next day, on a jog, Rees met Lisa, and they decided to go to the library together. Having pretended and received compliments from the hero, they went where they planned there. Elijah took another smart book, and the hero began to read a love novel to understand human emotion. On the street, already with 2 girls, he went to a cafe. At the table, introduced Clarice and Lisa, praising her, and he did the same with Clarice herself. They had a nice time, and so the hero made friends with each other. After saying goodbye to the girls, Ray met Amelia, who complained about the meeting of aristocrats after she found out about the hero's partying with other girls. Ray agreed to go somewhere with her, so they went to see different outfits, and Amelia noticed that Ray easily communicates with girls. He replied that most likely it was because he was growing up in the circle of women. At that moment, a spider got into the booth to rouse from fright. She ran out of it, pouncing on the hero, and then, burning with shame, returned to the locker room. and looked at herself in the mirror and said that she wanted to show Ray her real self someday. In the evening, the hero talked to the instructor Helena, who began to regret that she devoted herself to research and not to her students who gave up without becoming outstanding magicians. So she wants to be a good teacher for our hero. Albert's team has lost since the practical exam ended, and it turned out that he was training his fire magic to deal with Ray. The same unknown was watching his furious burning of the forest. After working out with the men, the hero went to the gardening club where Dina gave him a spare key since no one would be in the club today. Ray thanked her for her trust and went on going into the room. He found Rebecca undressed, apologized, closed the door, and concluded from the drawing on her underpants that she seemed to like rabbits. She treated him to tea from grown herbs, and she said that they usually wear more serious underwear. Then she showed him a homemade reference book on plants with unique records and told him about the discovery that it turns out that predatory plants can use magic. She also opened up and said that because of her high status, she is treated differently, and therefore she is glad that she can chat with Ray so easily. He thanked her for her training and took the handbook to himself in the gazebo. They talked about Ray's participation in the organization of the tournament. He said that he wanted to cheer for Amelia. There was another fencing lesson, and this time Amelia wanted to fight with the hero. He agreed, and the duel reminded him of his previous training because of the memories. He almost struck Amelia, but stopped during and Rose won. After the cafe, he said that he had learned everything he knew from his mentor. At that moment, Albert challenged Rhea to a duel, and the heroes naturally agreed. A dome was erected over the place of the duel, and Albert decided to fight with real swords using magic at that moment. He remembered how their family had always been average in terms of aristocrats. His father was humiliated all the time because of what he promised to glorify the family by becoming the supreme wizard. So the fight began. Well, Ray just dodged and repelled all Albert's attacks. Then Amelia told him to finally reveal who he really was. Only the hero wanted to tell the truth when suddenly, for some reason, everyone except him or Gravity Magic was attacked by an unknown man in a hood who turned out to be an instructor, Helena, who was in the eugenics organization. She was responsible for the disappearance of her students because of monsters in the forest. In response to her terrible words, Rias asked if she was ready to lose her limbs. A new fight began, and instead of directing a spell at Ray, Helena directed a spell at Ray. Helena directed a spell at his friends, which forced the hero to use something that was not worth it. Ray reincarnated as the Wizard of the Ice Blade and protected his friends with a wall of ice. He told Helena that the real wizard was lost during the war in the East, and the title was transferred to one boy. She launched a powerful spell at him, but he deflected it using a spell with an antimatter code. Helena began to run away in fear and beg the hero for forgiveness, but in fact, it was a trap that failed again. She asked what he was going to do, and everything that would not kill her and give her a fair trial. Then Helena took advantage of the moment and tore the device off her neck and stuck it into her brain, turning into what she had been studying all this time. So Ray and Helena started the battle of their strongest forms, but Ray just slowed down, captured, and destroyed the instructor's spell with the help of the antimatter code. He told her about how he was able to do it, but she did not believe that he could use antimatter, and noticed that the hero himself seemed unable to cope with his strength. Then, in response to her attack, he ended the duel by imprisoning her in a block of ice. Everyone was shocked by what they saw, and friends ran to the hero to help him. He looked at them, and before losing consciousness, was glad that he was able to protect them. Lydia found Ray a long time ago and wanted to install him when he woke up. He met Lydia herself, and Carol, Lydia, and Abby Garnet understood that they could not leave him, but Carol wanted to put the boy and stood her ground. Some were for and others against, but Lydia asked what Ray himself wanted, and he replied that he wanted to stay. Since then, he began to call Lydia, became a master, and became her disciple. Later, he began to perform with them on the battlefield, and one day, it turned out that the enemy forces had become too dangerous, and even someone from an elite squad could die. Ray wanted to dissuade him from the service, but he replied that the whole squad was his only family, and he was not going to leave. So, in the battle, the hero saw how his mentor was dying and committed the so-called overheating state when they controlled the huge power of magic, and only thoughts of destruction were spinning in his head. Ray regained consciousness, and the mentors praised the hero for his act, then left alone. Abby said that at first she was against his admission to the academy out of a special attitude towards commoners, but Lydia persuaded her that the hero needs friends of the same age and not adults with their own war. Ray was very surprised that he was treated with such trepidation after his friends visited him. He told them the whole truth about being in the war, losing comrades about his overheating, and that he was a wizard of the ice blade. Asking if he was worthy of being friends with them, they immediately brought him to his senses and said that they didn't care about his past and that he was their friend now. In the evening, Albert came to the hero with an expression of the deepest shame, apologized, saying that this was not enough to make amends, but Ray forgave him and allowed him to call himself by name. The hero said that the main thing was that he admitted his mistakes and said that he just needed to put aside doubts to go forward to his goal. Albert realized that all his life, though not to humiliate people but to accept them, and thanked Ray. The next day, a new teacher, Caroline, was introduced to the class, and the hero did not understand what she had forgotten here. For these 5 series, the anime is quite good, and the main character, although he loves all sorts of girls, does not defile them, so to speak. So my rating is 7 out of 10. Check out my other retellings that have appeared on your screen right now. Bye, everyone.